So I will briefly report about the instrument science team 3. This presentation was done with the collaboration of the whole team, and in particular Felix, Philip, Jens, and Roman. And you will hear also Felix and Roman during this presentation. So first of all, for the newcomers, who are we? So more or less, this is the stable staff of the team 3. You can see most of them have joined today's meeting, and you have heard some of them, and you will hear others in the coming tomorrow or later today. So what do we do? Basically, we are tasked to discuss about the mission requirements. We also look at the different simulators, in particular LiveSim, signal processing, and mission evaluation. And each of these working groups has a lead that is one of the, of course, Team 3 members. So Team 3 sits at the interface between Team 2, so the science team, and Team 4, that is the technology team. And we have, yes, one foot on each place. Our ears are open to hear what is needed from the two sides, but also we need the input from them to advance in our work. So what do? We meet monthly online. So since the last all hands meeting, we have had 15 telecons. Next meeting, for those that would like to join, is on the 23rd of November at 16 in Central European time. We always use the same Zoom link. So here you have it if you would like to join. And well, since March this year, we are tracking all what we do with Redmine tickets. So we have, I think, a very ordered way to look at what we have done and what needs to be done. So let's see what we have for the reports of the different working groups. So for the working group 3.1, so the mission requirements, so it is, we have heard about the concept study that we want to kick off probably next year. That sits on a certain requirement framework. That can be seen in a way, in a hierarchical way. So we need, first of all, because we are a scientific mission, we have what we want to do scientifically, so the science requirements, and that should be written in the science requirement document. So the science team states the science objectives of the mission and derives the corresponding science requirement. And that should be taken by the mission requirements. That is an input for the concept study, actually, is what we need to give to the study team. And it will contain the objectives and high-level requirements, also constraints to the mission, and it will be an iterative process before and during the study. So nothing will be in the next month be fixed in stone, but we need to have a framework with certain things that we can consider solid for at least a period of time to kick off the study. And the mission requirements also need to be independent of the implementation, on not so much dependent on the technology. It needs to reflect what we need for achieving the science requirements. And that will lead to then the system requirements specification that will come up from the study. So as the mission requirements concerns, the science objectives will be the mission objectives because of what I said before. We are a scientific mission, but the science requirements will be an input for the mission requirements. So, and as I mentioned before, this is fundamental for the concept study. So it is very important that the science objectives and the science requirements are defined, and so progress in that aspect is urgently needed. Now, going to the working group 3.2, the simulators. So we have different simulators here. LiveSim might be the better known one. So Philip and Felix are in charge. So actually, Philip took over Felix's lead of LiveSim this year. LiveSim has been presented in the Exoplanet Shield Modeling Tools workshop in June this year, where a shield comparison between Live and HWO was discussed. For those that would like to know more about LiveSim, as mentioned by Lena, we have the tutorial that Philip and Felix presented during the science team meeting. And related to updates or progress that has been made for those that have used already LiveSim in the past. So Philip started to work on a Monte Carlo sampling-based instrumental noise simulator. So there is a functioning prototype that can create a photon count time series for different live architectures. So we have heard already Shona talking about different array configurations and nulling schemes. And also it includes variant amplitudes, losses, and OPDs. There have been also several LiveSim master theses. We have here 3 mentioned that were done, I believe, all at ETH. Then we have another simulator where Roman from University from Belgium is working in the sci-fi simulator that has been adapted to space. So it includes a tool to handle the motion in 3D of the spacecraft collectors. This can support the study to consider the internal delay lines for given spacecraft trajectories. And here the trajectories can be defined by the user. The ExoSODI model has been ported from to Sci-Fi Sim, but needs still some review and testing. And the instrumental is currently a blank slate, so the library of noise spectra should be built in collaboration with Team 4. The other simulator is the one that presented by Jonah about the array architectures, and yes, this is what is contained in this working group. So now maybe Roman can take over on what is written here in the data processing, as he's the lead of working group 3.3.
I mean, can you hear me correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a few points here. So there's a first point on background source contamination. This is more something that I worked with along with science team a little bit, but the question was to try to consider and evaluate the density of galactic sources I mean, background sources that can contaminate the measurements. And so we did 2 studies with 2 teams of bachelor students. One that measured or evaluated the density of galactic sources as a function of the galactic latitude. And another one that set up a little tool with source extractor to use James Webb Space Telescope images to kind of count to get estimates of counts of galaxies and extragalactic objects inside images. But at this point, we didn't find available generosity data that would be interesting to explore with this tool. I want to outline then as a second point our efforts to define a nulling interferometry data standard, something that would be complementary to OIFITS for optical interferometry data exchange, but the needs in nulling interferometry are a little bit different. So we are slowly converging on what is needed, what this data standard needs to contain. But yeah, we still so there's a draft of a manifesto in my GitHub. Feel free to have a look and please contribute if you have ideas about that. And it's going to be critical soon, especially for the Asgard Knot instrument. And we want to really work on this. Yeah, it's a very important project because it will enable data challenges and exchange of performance and further work on data reduction. And then there's the life paper 11, sorry, that I want to showcase a little bit. That was a work by Taro Matsuo. It came out recently, and so it's called phase-based synthesis decomposition for planet detection and characterization. The two main ideas behind it is, I mean, those are ideas that come back from previous studies led by Taro and also by Lei in the past, but here they are pushed further, and so the two main concepts are the idea that we can leverage the spectral covariance of the instrumental noise, so the instrumental noise is correlated throughout the spectrum of the bandwidth of the instrument. And the second is to apply some form of temporal filtering of the instrumental noise. So having a knowledge of temporal spectrum of the instrumental noise can help us filter out some of its effects. Yeah, very interesting paper.
Okay, thank you, Roman. And so then for the progress report of working group 3.4, this working group is led by Jens. So Jens' live paper number 6 has been accepted. It's about detecting rocky exoplanets in the habitable zone of Sun-like stars. So this study was conducted in the context that we know that life is superior at finding habitable zone planets around M dwarfs. But what if the entire mission would focus on Sun-like stars? So he analyzed that scenario, and he concluded that life is expected to find around 30 habitable zone planets for either 3-meter mirrors with 5% total throughput or 2-meter mirrors with 20% total throughput. And you can see how the dependence on the mirror size and on the total throughput go in these plots with the predicted yield in the planet occurrence. So here we see these two plots. So a recommended paper of the live series. Then we have heard also Oscar talking about the live 10 paper. And we also have within this framework the master thesis of Philip Winkler from ETH, where he looked at the signal extraction and first step towards planet characterization. And he found that we can constrain the effective temperature, the radius of the planet, and the separation between the planet and the star very well for all planet types during the search phase of life. And that we will be able to detect the spectral dips during the search phase for selected planets, around 1/3 of the rocky planets in the habitable zone, and that will help for then the characterization phase. Last but not least, we had a mini workshop that was a joint workshop between organized between working group 3.2, so simulators, and working group 3.3, data reduction. And here maybe Felix wants to summarize what it was about.
Yeah. So I think we've seen that there was quite a lot of work going on in working group 3.2 and 3.3, and especially in the context of the live concept study, but also a currently ongoing ESA project to find first requirements for a single spacecraft nulling interferometer. I think it's time to start to tie up all these loose ends, which is why we had these 2 mini workshops over the summer. And I think we just want to highlight here quickly 3 major discussion points that we had. So the first one is that we want to start figuring out what the requirements for future nulling simulators will be. So here there's an obvious trade-off between the complexity of a simulator and the fidelity of the simulator. Also, we need to understand whether it is comparisons between architectures that we want to do, or proving the feasibility of a single architecture, which obviously also influences how we design the simulator. And we sort of came up with that we want to start by doing a cost-benefit based approach for architecture selection, and this will also inform the requirements on the simulators. And this is mainly with the goal in mind to document the reasoning for choosing a certain baseline architecture. And to start doing this, we also need to fix the mission or the science requirements and use them as fixed points in such a study. And here on the right, we brought an example from the HABEX final report, where they rated different mission architectures based on what kind of science these architectures can do. And I think we're aiming to do something similar. And then we also had a presentation and discussion of some of the KISS workshop recommendations, especially on technical and instrument science things. And I think there is more work that we need to do here. In particular, we need to prioritize which recommendations are most relevant for our work with LIFE. And also, we need to find volunteers to take on these work packages. So definite next step is have more coordination between LIFE and the ESA project, which we're setting up with Romain and Philip and Jonah and everybody else who's interested. And then also we want to present or discuss results that we will have in the next half year within another mini workshop in a similar format, just to make sure that everybody's in the loop. Thanks.
Thank you, Felix. Finally, related to the question about other science cases apart from temperate exoplanets, there was a request in the last all hands meeting about the imaging simulator. This has been discussed many times in Team 3. And we want to have a more in-depth discussion with the whole science team tomorrow during the Instrument Tech Team for All session. So with this, I'm done. If you want to join Team 3 or get more information, please contact me or Jens, and we will be happy to provide you with what you want to know. Thank you.